Hello, everybody. I wanted to thank everybody for the thoughtful comments and questions and likes and such on the last video I did, which was a gig log where I did an outdoor ceremony and an indoor reception. Thought I'd go ahead and do a Q&A video because there was some pretty good comments and questions that I thought we'd go over. So I'm going to start at the bottom. Gus says, FETE is the French name for celebration or party. It looked like fete. It had a little accent over that E. And I asked somebody who worked there, how do you say the name of this place? He said, well, good question. I didn't know when I interviewed either. It's actually fate. So I put those two things together, and fate, I guess that might be the English pronunciation of it, is how you say this place. And it means celebration in French. A lot of comments about the stool, because I did bring a stool to this event. I find that when I'm standing for extended periods of time, my feet do hurt. I do use Dr. Scholl's insoles. They help a lot, and I wear good New Balance black tennis shoes. Hopefully nobody's complaining about that. They're black shoes. You're active, you're setting up, you're breaking down, you're running around, you're doing things. I used to wear dress shoes at events a long time ago, but I don't do that anymore. And that does help. But when you're standing for so long, especially on like a concrete floor, yeah, it starts to work on me after a while. I get fatigued. So I brought a stool. I didn't sit on the stool while I was doing like any kind of performance stuff. I was only using the stool for cocktail because I just lined up a bunch of smooth jazz tracks and let them go. And then I also used it, of course, when I sat down to eat, which we'll talk about soon. A lot of comments on that as well. But it does help, and I'm not using it when I'm doing grand entrances or even just DJing dance music. It's just when I'm not doing anything. Why just stand there? Have something to sit on. The stool's helpful, and I think ultimately, for a person like me in my condition, they end up with a better product because I'm not so tired, and I'm probably sharper and can put out a better performance when I'm rested. So that helps. Let's see what else. You have a nice healthy glow now. I was pretty sunburned. And as you can see, this is Tuesday and it's faded. I put aloe on it. It's pretty good. I wore a hat on the 4th of July. I was with my family. I wore a hat yesterday. Did a little bit of yard work. It's very hot here, by the way. It's cooling off tomorrow. But yeah, I did get sunburnt out there because I was exposed. I had no coverage. I usually always want coverage for an outdoor event. This event was so incredibly just convoluted and confusing, I just let it go. I shouldn't have, though. And it wasn't mine, by the way. It was a subcontract from an agency. So I didn't have that opportunity to put that into a clause where, I needed protection from the sun. And that's what it really is. It's protection from the sun, not only for me, but for the equipment. You don't want it to overheat. A lot of people think it's just about rain. That's part of it. But it's just elements in general, because electronics hate heat and they hate condensation. So, yeah. Should have had coverage, didn't. What are you going to do? I'll try to do better next time. It's always something that you got to think about. How we said, I'm sure they were very happy. Yeah, they were. It was a nice event. It wasn't the craziest dance party I've ever had, but they were incredibly happy with what I did, and I was able to help them realize their vision with a lot of their special requests, especially their ceremony, and then their father, daughter, mother, son. The mother's son was interesting. The volume was turned way down so you can hear what was going on, but the song that he picked for the mother-son dance was Games People Play by the Alan Parsons Project. If you don't know that song, it's a fast song. It's not a ballad or a slow song or anything else. But it worked. And his mother loved it. She absolutely loved it. What was going to ask, since the summer months seem to be getting hotter and probably a smaller number of ceremonies are outside, are you able to set up a 10 by 10 tent on grass? Had an instance, one venue was concerned about the pop-up sprinkler system. I don't set up a tent because I physically can't. It's a big ask for me to do that. I would have to bring in an assistant. I would have to purchase some kind of coverage. It's just better for me to say, hey, look, I need adequate coverage from the elements, period. Not just me, but the equipment. And also, when I'm doing my own stuff, I make it clear to the clients that it's my judgment call on this. If the weather isn't right, I'm the one who ultimately decides whether or not I set up outside or not. I can't do it if it's really windy or if it's going to rain or something. It's hard. I did one last year where it was super windy and everything said rain, and it had been raining, but they still insisted on outside, and they did provide coverage. We had to anchor it down because the wind was so strong. This is stuff we really should be making judgment calls on as DJs, and have that clause in our contract where nobody can fault us for saying, hey, look, we can't do this. So yeah, I mean, I don't set my own tent up. Maybe this is something to consider too, with this venue being concerned about a sprinkler system. So I don't know. I think it's better that they do it. I like it that way. It's their responsibility that way. DJ Mikey Mike, not Mikey Mike, a different DJ Mikey Mike, not Mike Susan, different guy. Always work very close with the photographers. Like with the cake cutting, I have the photographer and the people come up, do a mock cake cutting. That way, when I make the announcement of the bride and groom are cutting their cake, the three most important people are in place: the bride and groom and the photographer. I've seen so many times the photographer struggling to get the picture of the couple, so I started implementing this at every wedding, and so far so good. Typically that's what most photographers do. They want some post stuff. But yeah, I mean, anytime that you're trying to organize a toast, a first dance, a father-daughter, mother-son, anything like that, and cake cutting, grand entrances, all of that, it's best to touch base with the photographer and let them know it's coming. Things change, even if you give them a timeline and all that kind of stuff. It's just courtesy to, hey, photographer, we ready? We're going? There have been many times where I've been ready to go with something, but the photographer needed to reload or something, so I had to give him a minute. And it's totally understandable. A couple wants the pictures, so yeah, work with your other vendors. I think it's very important to do that. And some of you may say that's not my job. And I get that. But it is your job to give the client a fantastic finished product. And if there's something you can do that's not a big deal, that helps the event run smoother ultimately, even if it's not your job, maybe that's the thing to do. People recognize this. Photographers recognize this. Venues recognize it. Catering recognizes it. The cool ones do anyway. They give you props for it. And they like working with you because they know that you got their back. And then they have your back if anything's going on too, which is nice. Nice to have people looking out for you once in a while. Not that you need much, but if you did, hey. Wavy Davy. Nice to have battery power outside. Mr. T says, I am transitioning to battery-powered everything for ceremonies. More and more, we get to a venue, and the outlets are so far away. I use the JBL Eon 1 Pro, and it's perfect for ceremonies. Now I can just assume the worst, and if they have power for me, then I plug in. If not, no big deal. That's where I'm at. I kept running into problems where there were 400-foot extension cable runs, or there was power out there, but it wasn't good and clean, or there was an outlet, but it didn't work. You know, you got to problem solve on the fly. When you got battery powered, it's boom, 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 done. At this particular venue, they had power, but it was up front where the altar was. It's not where I want power. I want it in the back. So, yeah, battery powered is the way to go. Wavy Davy mentioned battery powered too. So it's nice to have that stuff, and it absolutely is. It's almost the way forward, I think, for everybody. There are some very reasonably priced budget battery powered solutions out there. Like that American Audio, what is it called? It's whatever that 12-inch speaker they have now is. I'll put it here. It's like $229 or something like that. It's battery powered. It sounds great. Big deal. It even comes with a mic. The mic sucks, but it comes with a mic. But there are microphone solutions that you can do, even for wireless and multiple microphones. It's not as tough as it used to be, really. And you can do it at all kinds of different price ranges. So I would highly recommend that everybody consider battery powered, especially for these outdoor ceremonies, if you do them. Great job as usual. I only eat food at an event when it is offered to me. I will not go up to a buffet. There were a lot of food comments here, and it had to do with the barbecue I was eating. So I'll say a couple things about food. Just a couple quick things. First of all, I don't eat at every event. It's not always appropriate. Some events, it's just not. I do not do the vendor table thing with the photographers and such. Simply because I always feel like I need to be at my workstation to make volume adjustments, troubleshoot, whatever the case might be. Jay Branning was telling a story the other day where he went to a vendor table in another room. He came back, the music had been off for 15 minutes. He told his wife, Michelle, she yelled at him. So the PTSD he has from his wife yelling at him has made him never eat at another event again, which is his policy, and that's fine. But there were a lot of questions. Yeah, eat it. Eat it if it's there. There were some memes that people were putting up on other places on social media where it was Weird Al Yankovic with the Eat It video. The situation here was that because I was there for like 9 hours, the agency that I work with put in the contract that I was going to have a meal provided. That usually isn't something that I put in a contract. It's just not. But it was there. And it was barbecue, and I'm a barbecue freak. I'm going to try some barbecue. I wasn't going to eat. I wasn't planning on even eating at this event. I had had something before. I was fine. I don't eat a lot when it's hot outside, but it's hard to pass up barbecue for me. But I think, it's important. If you're going to do it when it's appropriate. That's just me. But there are some hardliners out there who always eat, and there are hardliners out there that never eat, and if you do, you're unprofessional. And I think you need to be really careful with taking those hardline stances with anything in life, because what that does is shows an incredible lack of empathy for others. Example, these ethnic events that I do, by the way, Milwaukee is a very ethnic city. We've got German, we've got Polish, we've got Latinos, we've got Arabic people, we've got Indian people, we've got Asian people, we got all kinds of people in the city. And with these cultures, I can tell you that food is a big deal. In my family, Latinos, Puerto Ricans, arroz con gandules. What is that? It's rice and beans. Who makes the best rice? Always your wife or your mom. Of course, they always make the best rice. If you say any different, you can go sleep outside that night. But food is cultural. It's a big deal. People want to nurture you and feed you, especially at an event. It's almost like you're part of the family if you partake in this meal. And sometimes it's a religious event where they bless the food, and they feel like that to not eat it would be disrespectful. I mean, I'm not saying that every culture is like this. I'm not saying that every place in America or the world is like this. But there are some cultures where food is a big deal, and to refuse it might be rude. Might be. And if you do, that's fine. But just understand, just because you don't, doesn't automatically make you an unprofessional heathen. Guys, hardliners. Come on. There's a difference between competence and incompetence. There's a difference between common sense and no common sense. You can't just assume that no one has common sense. And no one can read between the lines and read a room or read a situation and decide whether something is appropriate or not. Just watch that stuff. What else do we got? Anything else? Did my first gig in a year and a half. I became extremely tired after a year and a half. I'm completely rusty. I hope the next events I will feel better. It's going to take some time to get back in the swing of things for a lot of us. I've been doing events pretty consistently since, I guess, April. I feel pretty good. But I will say that every event's different. Every event has its own unique set of challenges. And that can be stressful. It can be exhausting. But you know what? it's still better than a 9 to 5, I think. There were a couple comments about umbrellas for shade. Not a bad idea. I have one person that says, I use an umbrella clipped to the speaker pole. And someone else had said that I wanted to share my solution to your sun issue. Take an umbrella, like the one that man was carrying, and duct tape it to a spare speaker or light stand. That way you can create portable shade. It's a trick I came up with after becoming an archaeology student, since we often worked in wide open spaces for long hours and in extreme heat. The first crew that saw it actually named it Rihanna. So, yeah, umbrellas are probably not a terrible idea, and be a pretty easy solution if you just need some shade. Sometimes wind could be a factor on this, but if it's not, yeah, great idea. He also says, since I'm partially disabled, I'm curious what you did to get the handicap placard for your vehicle and if there are any limitations on your license. I'm also wondering if your insurance rates changed. My insurance rates didn't change. I have no limitations on my license. As far as the placard on my vehicle, you pick up that application here in Wisconsin at the DMV, and then you go to your doctor, and your doctor says whether or not they feel like that you need a disabled parking pass. And if you do, they say you do, and you bring that back to the DMV, and then they give you the placard. And in my particular case, it's not that I can't walk, I can walk, but living in Wisconsin, with winter, the ice is an issue. If I had to walk from the back of the parking lot all the way to the grocery store in a snowstorm with ice, yeah, I'm probably going to fall. In fact, I might even fall going from the disabled spot to the door, but I have less of a chance of falling that way because I don't always have great balance. My right leg doesn't have great control. So that's the primary reason I have it, but they issue them for a lot of things. It could be a cardiac thing. It could be a lot of things. It's not that it's limping or whatever. So, yeah, that's how it works out. And my insurance isn't different. I don't have any limitations on my license, but I'm kind of a unicorn that way. It just worked out that way. So that's it. I just wanted to do a quick Q&A for you. I hope I got to your question. If not, let us know in the comment section. I'll try to answer it for you. I'll have more videos coming up this week. Got a lot going on, but I'm going to try to wrap up some stuff here and there. I've got some product to show you too, so stay tuned for that. We'll see you soon. Thanks so much for watching. I appreciate you so much. Practice and enjoy.